it for now. All right, it's 9 o'clock. So welcome to the session. I'm going to show you today how to go from I want to write a book in your head to actually writing the book and publishing it in what is probably a pretty aspirational 101 days, but whether it takes you 101 or 1001, the process is all the same. It's just a matter of how quickly that you are going through it. So I'll kind of do like, I do want to stay right on track. So I'm just going to kind of do 2 introductions to let people filter in, and then I'll start the slideshow, and that one will be really quick. So my name's Alegra Loewenstein, and I have written many books of my own, as well as books for clients. So these are not even all of them. These are 4 of them. I didn't have them all readily accessible, so I already lost track. 7, I think, of my own that I've written and published. I have others that are written that aren't published, a lot that are half written. And my background actually is in biology and ecology, and then a master's degree in creative writing. Then I actually worked in education, which translates into books with, I do a lot of guided journals, both for myself and for clients. I'm a big believer in guided journals and journaling in general, because it's a very powerful tool to retrain your brain. So yeah, I love all that kind of stuff. All right, I actually am just going to go ahead and I'm going to go through the slides. I'm going to share my screen, go through the slides, and then at the end, we'll come back and I'll just be on the screen again. So give me just a second. Okay, I think you guys are seeing that, but I'm gonna go to that version. Okay, so you know what? I'm just going to double check. Still sharing the screen. See, this is the one thing. They don't let me see you guys when I'm sharing screen. So I'm going to do like 2 slides, and if there's anything funky going on, I'm going to leave the share screen, come back, double check the chat box. Y'all tell me if there's anything weird, but I'm going to assume that there's not. When I go to full screen, it disappears. Okay. Full screen is sharing. All right, so welcome to How to Write a Book. This is a slightly different title. For how to go from idea to publish in 101 days. And like I said, it's a bit aspirational, but it's definitely doable. My name is Alegra Loewenstein, and I'm just going to jump right in. Then I'll run back and just double check the chat box. But I have a very, very, very simple approach to go all the way through the writing and publishing process for a book. I break it down at its, most large-scale steps, which I call very simply and easy to remember: pre-writing, writing, and post-writing. Okay, and I'm going to jump right in. Pre-writing is the most important step, and we're going to get right back to why and how pre-writing is so important. But like I said, I do just want to make sure nothing funky is happening right here. So y'all are going to see my whole screen. You can share a screen and come back to browser and see the chat. So go, oh, somebody's telling me, go back to the screen. So I know I can do that, but then you guys, whatever. I guess I could leave it like this. And then I can do that. Okay. Yeah, we'll just see my notes. They don't even really need, but that's okay. Okay, so can see it now. Give me just 2 seconds. Okay, actually, I guess it's useful. Notes help. So, because I forgot to say, you can actually outsource also the writing and the post-writing. The only thing you can't outsource is the pre-writing. That's why it's so important. All right, so pre-writing, it is just such an important part of this process. And the reason is why, because we're filling up our brains all the time, everywhere we go, everything we do. So whether you are a professional who's wanting to write a book about your skills and your expertise, you're here at a conference, you're developing your, you're doing professional development, you're doing personal development. Whether you have a crazy life story that's yours to share with the world, or whether you just have some wisdom or, a family experience, whatever it is, our brains are filled. We can fill them with anything. And you can write a book on that too. I mean, you can write a book on, whatever TV show is your favorite TV show and you've watched it 17 times, right? I don't know what's hot right now, but whatever. Like, I watched Orange is the New Black 17 times. No, I didn't really finish that show, but you could write a book about that. You literally could write a book about that. And so your brain is already full. I truly believe that everybody has at least one book in them, and most people have many books in them. And it's really just a matter of finding that most important book to share, maybe the first book to share, maybe you want more than one. And so we're going to just start out by, I can't see you, you can see me, sit back, get comfy, maybe sit up straight, whatever you want to do, sit up straight, take a deep breath. I'm going to do like 30 seconds to just kind of let you think to yourself, what would I write a book about? Maybe some of you guys already are here because you have thought you want to write a book and you know what it's about. People actually trip up on this step. So relax, close your eyes, and just ask yourself, what is my expertise? What is my gift that I'm here to share with the world? What is my story? Sometimes it's going to come through right away. It's going to be really clear. Again, maybe you came here already knowing, but even if you didn't, this is something where you can definitely brainstorm and ask yourself. I have to say, if you're in business, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you are an entrepreneur, if you have a brand, that typically really helps tell you what your book should be about. If it's for marketing your business, if it's your personal life, then some self-reflection, meditation. New Year's is the time to do that. So this is the part you should not rush, because if it's not there yet, you can let it percolate, you can let it brew, and it's like the teacups, it's getting stronger, and when you get the clarity of what you should be writing about, that's when the writing starts. You don't have to have it all mapped out. That's part of the writing process, but it's like once you get that little, I feel like it's kind of this magical, when I'm thinking about things or talking with a client, it's like, oh, kind of this fireworks feeling in my brain and like in my body. You can kind of, it's like magic. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes I'm like, oh, that is the idea. That is definitely what we got to be writing about. That is definitely something that the world needs to know. Okay, and so this stage typically ends when you decide, I want to write a book. When you think to yourself, I want to write a book, that's the transition to the writing phase. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Now, for the writing phase, this is when you got to start organizing it, all the wonderful things in your brain. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to organize. I personally find writing to be a very organic process. And so I'm going to use a few different tools when I'm writing. So I do typically literally start a book by just writing. Sit down and I see what comes out. But within a few pages, I typically it's like it just gets the gears going. Then I go back out of the writing and I make an outline. And then I come and go from the outline as I write a book. It's just my way. For some people, they prefer to spend a lot of time in the outlining phase and then map that out completely. Well, sorry, a map is another way, right? So that's a more multi-dimensional way. Drawing it, on a freestyle on a page can help the process as well. Obviously, at the end of the day, a book is a linear thing. You start at the beginning, you go to the end. Some books you're going to jump around, so maybe a map is going to fit. You can scribe it, right? You can actually speak it and talk with somebody about it. So we'll get to some of the aspects of if you're going to hire a writing coach, if you're going to hire a ghostwriter, different ways that you can do it, because the writing process itself is actually completely outsourceable. It's completely legitimate. It doesn't dilute the process. So The pre-writing is your brain, your ideas, right? The writing, to me, it's really a translation of all of those ideas that you have inside of you and putting them into a specific format. And we do that all the time, right? So anyone who's, even a conversation, right? You can have a conversation about it. You can write in your journal about it. There's all these ways that we put what's in our head into other formats, and a book is just one particular way of doing that. Also, some people in business for themselves, they're going to have maybe made a course or done a podcast. So these are all different ways to take the amazing wisdom, the amazing expertise, the amazing stories out of your brain and putting them into a format to share with other people. So that is the writing process. Please remember that it takes many, many, many hours of actually having your fingers on the keyboard to write a book. And for some people, they feel really committed to that they want their fingers on the keyboard. But for other people, and that's fine, everyone has their reasons for wanting to write a book. For other people, I just like to remind that because it's why many people are going to outsource it, right? If you're too busy, you don't have time, then it makes sense to outsource it. Okay, and then the post-writing, all right? And the writing and the post-writing are typically the two main areas where people are getting tripped up, right? People get overwhelmed by the writing. And if you haven't written a lot, writing is a skill you have to learn. So it can be hard to start with a very large project. And a lot of times we have to write a lot of bad stuff before we develop that skill. But even once you're done, I have to say the post-writing for me is what tripped me up for the longest time. I had written multiple books before I ever published. I had tried to go the traditional route. That's a whole other thing. If you guys have questions, I can talk about that. But this is about self-publishing because it is an entirely changing field, and self-publishing is definitely the fastest, most efficient way to get your book out to the world as fast as possible and in complete control also, which is nice. We're the control freaks among us. So post-writing, you have to have an editor, okay? I don't care how good of an editor you are. You have to hire or ask a favor of somebody to read your work and give you feedback. And editing typically has multiple phases. So you have large-scale editing. There's a name for it, and I'm sorry. I got woken up in the middle of the night last night, so it's not coming to me. Like conceptual editing, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, it's where you look at the whole book and you reshape the whole thing. And then there's mid-range, so there's more like changing paragraphs around, maybe fixing sentences. And then there's grammar. And then that it goes down from that highest level down to essentially proofreading. It's kind of separate from editing, but to me, it's part of that same scale, right? So proofreading is that final step where you're going to find all of you're not going to find all the mistakes, actually. You're going to find 99% of the mistakes. The typos, the misspellings, the weird grammar. There's different ways to do grammar, right? There's actually different schools of thought as far as what the rules are. Like the Oxford comma, which I'm a big believer in. That doesn't matter. You should probably hire somebody or get a good favor. And I'll get to favor versus hire in a second. And then that's just the manuscript, right? So there's all this back and forth. And I mean, I have gone back and forth I have an amazing editor. She also does my proofreading. That's not always the case. For me, it is. A moment to X out. Okay, so how to write and publish a book in 101 days. Is it really possible? Okay, I always get pushback on this. I should probably retitle the talk. It's totally possible. That clock starts when you actually begin the writing. Okay, it doesn't start when you're just thinking about things. The most I personally have ever written, but I've never written for 40 hours a week. It's always been much less than that. It was maybe 20,000 words in a month. That's like puny. Professional writers, they can write 100,000 words in a month. So, and most books are going to be between 30,000 to 100,000 books. So what I like to say is, oopsie, yes, you can definitely write and publish a book in 101 days. If you write your book in a month, that's daily writing hours every day. And then about a month to go through the editing and revision process. That's with a dedicated editor, probably someone you've hired because a friend that you're asking for a favor is going to take 10 times longer. And then also 2 weeks for formatting, whether it's you. If you have that kind of skill already, if you're versed in InDesign or even really well versed in Microsoft Word, then that could actually be pretty fast. That could be like a few days, but let's say you give it to somebody, takes them 2 weeks. That still leaves almost a month for all the things that aren't going to go according to schedule. So yes, it is definitely doable if you have the time and the bandwidth to dedicate yourself to a large and mentally consuming project. Those are always the caveats, right? Okay, so the golden nuggets of getting it done. Okay. So how are you going to get this done, right? You're either just completely self-motivated. That's awesome. Go you. Most of us need some kind of help. There's writing coaches. There's writing partners. There's writing groups. There is hiring somebody for the writing part itself. That's all for the actual writing. Okay, so like I said, many people, they're very dedicated to the actual fingers on the keyboard thing. Maybe you're going to hire a writing coach. Maybe you're going to be with a partner. I personally would say it's much, unless you're totally new to writer, a writing group is awesome. Once you've been in a writing group for a little while, I actually advise to get a writing partner. So you find the person who gets you, understands your work and where you're coming from and what you're doing out of the group, and y'all bust out and you do, if they're equally committed, a share program, because over time, I personally believe the process with a group dilutes the quality of the work because there's too much input. You can't write to your best self with 5 or 10 or 15 people telling you all the things to change. It just doesn't happen. It kind of frays it on the edges. A partner, however, can really energize that process. A writing coach is going to also, in many cases, serve that purpose. You'll still need people to read it along the way. And that's no matter what, whether they're reading it as you're writing it or whether they're reading it out of done. You have to have people in your life who are willing to read your work as you go through the process. You can also hire a ghostwriter. I sometimes like the word scribe because, again, it's always the author's ideas, and the ghostwriter or the scribe is putting that into the format of a book. I really recommend hiring as far as coming with the editor, the proofreading, the formatting, just because you're going to get a dedicated person. Even that, of course, sometimes it takes more than one shot. Before I found my current editor, I had a book that I had multiple people edit. It was, added a lot of time to the publication date, etc. There's hiccups. There's always going to be hiccups, especially when it's new process to you. Favors work, especially if you're reciprocating and the person is really, you're going to get it done for them and they're going to get it done for you. In my experience, that can be kind of hard. Oh, we're almost out of time, but I'm almost done. And the last thing, if you're going to hire any of these people, honestly, you should do it before you start writing. It's just so much more efficient. It makes the process go so much more smoother. All right, so just kind of wrap it up. So I make sure we have at least 5+ minutes for the questions. Pre-writing, most important phase, that is where all the magic happens. Writing, fingers on the keyboard. You have to have a plan. You have to have an organization system. Post-writing, there are a lot of technical components that if you don't already know how to do those, you should probably outsource them. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me, especially with that random blackout in the middle. My gift to you is simply a coffee chat. If you are interested in my services or even just have really detailed questions about your book, we can do 20, 30 minutes on the phone. I have 3 of those blocked out for this session, so first come, first served. just literally email me and put like, I want the coffee chat up in the top. And I'll just put this here too. I'll put this stuff in the text box as well because I'm going to go back to the screen. So, you can actually always contact me through my website as well. I have a contact form. So it's just alegraloewenstein.com. I really am generally very happy to correspond with people, chat with people. I truly believe a rising tide lifts all ships. So please don't hesitate to reach out at any point, whether it's this week or next year. Alrighty, so let me end that screen share. And now I am back, hoping this helps me finish my dissertation. Rivka, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope you finish your dissertation too. And I didn't know when I wrote my dissertation that you can hire someone to do all the formatting. I was not aware of that. And I would recommend it. Okay, so I am here. We have 6 minutes left. I'm so happy I got your name right. That's awesome. Good luck on your dissertation. Does anybody have any questions about this process? I know it's a pretty big process. I covered it at the top level because I find that that's the most useful way to cover it. And then people can always ask questions, as we go. So I can also just kind of think through, there seems to be a slight delay on this. You have any editor recommendations? So unfortunately, my editor is not taking any other clients. She's the only one I've ever loved. I have found, she's someone I knew from real life, but I have found many wonderful people on Upwork. I have not found people who were dedicated to really developing a relationship on Fiverr. Those are the two sites I've used to find freelancers. I have done on Upwork. And if you ever get to the point where you're needing help with the formatting, I do have someone who has space for new clients there. So you can email me. Oh, well, let me put my email address in there. And I will be happy to put you in touch with her. You have recommendations on how to build writing into your day. I have a book in mind, but haven't been good about dedicating time to it. Megan, that is a really good question. I don't know how old you are. I have to admit, I've always had a lot of book ideas. I've always loved writing. And really, until like my late 30s, I was a total flake. So I think I just got better with age. I just, the demands on your time get greater and you kind of just finally realize I can't screw around anymore. This isn't going to happen. So a writing group, I also know for myself, external accountability is key. So maybe that's the case for you. A writing group would help with that a lot. I have clients now, so I have to be accountable to them. And when I write my own books, they take a lot longer. And I tend to tell people I'm going to publish it by a certain date. And then that's like when the clock really starts for me. I have also published with a small press in the past. And I wrote that book super fast just because they basically told me they wanted the whole manuscript. And I didn't know how long that offer would last. I think they thought I had the manuscript, but I only had an idea. So yeah, external accountability is a big, big thing for me. Okay, where do you self-publish? Amazon, any other places you recommend? Also, how do you promote your books? So I publish on Amazon. I got into this, so I write only now. That's my profession now. I'm a writer. I write my books. I write for clients. But when I started writing as part of my profession, I actually was doing health coaching. So I only publish on Amazon because it's the fastest, easiest hurdle. Like the hurdle is very low for the biggest number of clients, right? So you can also publish direct with Barnes & Noble, but they don't have the clients, they don't have the load that Amazon uses. People go, I will also say business-wise, 4 years ago when I was health coaching, my clientele they were all Amazon users. I mean, most of the world is, but my clients were. And so I knew I didn't need to mess around with other stuff. Like they were busy, they were stressed, they were shopping on Amazon for sure. There's also Ingram Spark. If you want to be in a bookstore, if that's part of your dream and your vision or your marketing plan or whatever, go with Ingram Spark. They're a big pain in the butt to go through the formatting process with. They're very detail oriented. There's just a lot more like rules and regulations that you have to follow. For the fellow whose name I pronounced right but have forgotten, it's like doing a dissertation where they're like literally somebody comes and measures all the margins. But Ingram Spark gets you into bookstores. Publishing with Amazon makes it very, very difficult to get into bookstores. I promote my books now exclusively with my email list only. I used to do a lot of social media, but it took up too much time for me and my clientele. Even back in the day, they weren't really active on social media. So it comes down to knowing your audience. That's a big part of it, right? If you're wanting to build a business selling books, that's a slow burn business. You got to build up a number of clientele who are going to buy your books. You don't make a lot of money selling one book, right? You have to sell a lot of books to make money. But it also can be done with ads. I have run ads in the past. It can be like fairly passive income, not passive, but nothing's truly passive. Anyway, let me get to the next questions. Highly recommend Writer's Salon online. We meet on Zoom and write for an hour. It's free. Okay, so Carrie Needs, awesome. Thank you for recommending that resource. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure now there's a million writers groups online. Clara, don't know how to say that. For a first book, should I focus on a subject that is easier to tackle? I have lots of complex ideas, but I'm only starting to write. Yes, you should. In fact, a lot of my clients I advise, most of them are in business, so they have a lot to offer in their realm of expertise. And sometimes I'm like, why don't we make, kind of section 1 of your masterpiece? And then later you can write the whole book, and that can just be part of it. Maybe it gets tweaked a little bit, like a third of the book will be written. Yes, write a small book to start. Absolutely. Ingram Spark. Yes, that's a wonderful question. How do you spell Ingram Spark? Ingram Spark. I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. Oh yeah, thank you. Megan put the link right up there. Awesome. I love all these helpful people. Thank you guys. So we are at time. Seriously, if you guys have questions, email me. If you want to grab a coffee chat with me, on Zoom, obviously. We have our coffee chat. I drink tea, but you can have coffee or tea. I'm just going to put my email here one more time. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Sam. I'm glad you guys got useful information out of this. Take care. Happy New Year. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Grace. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Rivka. All right. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Clara. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks, Rayal. Hope I'm getting everyone's names. I do really appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for all the good questions and feedback. Appreciate it.